High above the lands between lies crumbling Farum Azula, a decaying ancient capital, home of the ancient dragons, and within it, a mysterious statue. Why it exists here is still an unsolved mystery, one the community has yet to fully uncover. From the wolf crest shield, we know that wolves proudly symbolize the moon's legacy, no matter how far they may roam. But what we don't know is why we find a statue bearing this Carian symbol here of all places. We also don't know why depictions of a man with a staff, a woman, and a newborn appear throughout these ruins. And truth be told, we know next to nothing about why crumbling Farum Azula began to crumble in the first place. The wolf is the beast of the Carian royal covenant, a symbol of the moon's pride that none can forget, no matter what remote lands they may arrive in. These are the words that might just give us a clue about the origin of that mysterious statue. But to understand them, we have to start at the beginning. The bond between the Carian royal family and wolves is made abundantly clear throughout the game. After all, it's Ranni herself who hands us a spirit summon early on, the lone wolf Ashes, allowing us to call upon 3 spectral wolves, the very same type of summon that Rennala uses against us in battle. Even Radagon, back when he was consort to Rennala, had a red wolf by his side. And speaking of Ranni, her shadow is literally a wolf, and her tower in Liurnia is guarded by 3 of them. So the message couldn't be clearer. Wolves are the unmistakable symbol of the Carian family. But what's fascinating is that this symbol carries deeper meaning. The Carians seem to follow a kind of belief system centered around the night sky, with the full moon as its most sacred celestial body. And as we all know, wolves are creatures drawn to the moon. They howl at it, as if compelled by its presence. The root of this connection likely lies in Lady Rennala herself. The Stargazer heirloom talisman tells us, "The young astrologer gazed at the night sky as she walked. She had always chased the stars every step of her journey. Then she met the full moon, and in time, the astrologer became a queen." This description not only ties Rennala to the moon, but it also calls her an astrologer, which is no coincidence. As the astrologer's hood reveals, the glintstone sorcerers of Raya Lucaria were the heirs of the astrologers. And this fascination with the night sky isn't limited to her. Throughout the academy, we find sorcerers inspired by the heavens. Sorcerer Azur, for instance, chased the mysteries of comets. Sorcerer Lusat and his followers pursued the study of meteors. Across the academy, this cosmic obsession is reflected in their sorceries. Spells inspired by celestial bodies. Among them are the ones I like to call meteor sorceries. The spell Meteorite describes itself perfectly. One of the glintstone sorceries that manipulates gravitational forces. Meteorites also play a crucial role in the lore surrounding crumbling Farum Azula. From our fight with Dragonlord Placidusax, we learned that Farum Azula was once a massive mausoleum, later destroyed, leaving only the ruins upon which the crumbling city we know today was built. This is even hinted at in the Beastman of Farum Azula Ashes. The ruin's greatsword tells us the ruin it came from crumbled when struck by a meteorite, a clear sign that Farum Azula first began to fall apart after its original form was struck by one of these celestial rocks. This suggests that the version of Farum Azula we explore today was built by a different culture, one that came after the age of the ancient dragons. It's almost a direct allusion to our own world's history. Prehistoric creatures like dinosaurs, wiped out by a meteorite, paving the way for new civilizations to rise. There's even speculation that we find a shard of that meteorite itself in the form of the ancient meteoric ore greatsword, though that remains pure theory. The destruction of Farum Azula by a meteorite would also explain why the city now floats in the sky. Across the lands between, we can spot smaller meteorite impact sites, and in each case, the broken fragments of land levitate in the air. This makes sense since meteorite sorceries always carry aspects of gravitational magic. So the idea that Farum Azula was once rooted firmly to the ground isn't far-fetched at all. In fact, its architecture shares striking similarities with the bestial sanctum in Caelid, and the bridge that leads us there bears the name Farum Great Bridge. When we piece all this together, a picture starts to emerge, one that links Farum Azula to the Carian royal family, or at least their predecessors, the astrologers. We have the statue of the 3 wolves in Malekith's boss arena. We have the shared connection to meteorites, and within Farum Azula, we find that enigmatic statue, a man with a staff, a woman, and a child. Now, This is speculation. But when we compare the man's depiction to the glintstone crowns worn by sorcerers who studied meteorites, the resemblance is hard to ignore. As for the staff in his hand, it could be any number of them, so I'll leave that interpretation aside. What if I told you that there are even more connections between crumbling Farum Azula and the Carian royal family than the ones we've already uncovered? Connections that aren't obvious at first glance, threads that only reveal themselves once you piece everything together. And at the center of it all lies one of Elden Ring's most enigmatic figures, a character whose lore is a mystery in itself, and who, on the surface, seems to have nothing to do with this story. But first, let me explain how I stumbled onto this path. As we've established, the Carian royal family revolves around a single symbol, the moon, and in countless myths, stories, and games, the moon's eternal counterpart is the sun, and Elden Ring is no different. Now, I know many of you might immediately think of the fire giants here, but that's not quite right. They embody fire itself, and by extension, opposition to the Erd Tree. What I'm talking about is the seat of the sun itself, Farum Azula. The Sun Realm Shield tells us, Shield of Honor, depicting a city crowned by the sun. It has seen better days. Much like the wear upon the shield, the seat of the sun is long faded away. And indeed, there are only two locations in Elden Ring where the sun shines eternally, Farum Azula and Enir Ilim. The latter is more closely tied to divine worship, and the reason for its constant sunlight likely lies with the gate of divinity. So that leaves Farum Azula as the true seat of the sun, standing in opposition to the Carian moon. So we have the sun and the moon, day and night. But what lies between the two? The transition from sunset to starlit sky, a phase we call twilight, or in another word, gloam. I know, at first it might sound crazy, but hear me out. The gloam-eyed queen may not seem connected to the Carian royal family on the surface, yet through symbolism, a hidden bond emerges. We don't get much about her in item descriptions, just scattered hints. But her most loyal followers, the Godskins, tell us far more. Not only through their armor and incantations, but through the places where we encounter them. And here's where it gets interesting. Radagon and Renala had 3 children, and each of them can in one way or another be tied to a Godskin. In the tower where we activate Radagon's great rune, we descend into the basement, and there we find a Godskin apostle guarding none other than the Godslayer's greatsword, the very blade of the gloam-eyed queen herself. At the entrance to the tower in Liurnia, the very one where Ranni's remains lie, we find it guarded by a Godskin noble. And in the Temple of Igle within Volcano Manor, another noble awaits us there as well. But here's where things get truly fascinating. In the Frenzied Flame ending, we see Melina with a gloam eye. And yet, throughout the game, we're given almost no evidence linking her to the gloam-eyed queen. Still, this single detail, paired with the queen's notorious practice of flaying her victims, hints at a shared theme. The act of renewal, of shedding one's old identity. And this same motif is reflected in the children of the Carian royal family. Radahn is slain, only to be reborn within Mog's cocoon through Miquella's power. Ranni's body dies, her soul persisting inside a doll. Rykard willingly allows himself to be consumed by the serpent Egle, fusing into a new existence altogether. Each of them, in their own way, undergoes a transformation, a rebirth. Now turning back to the Godskins themselves, their design reveals even more subtle ties. The purple gemstones embedded in their robes are the same kind we see adorning Renala's attire. What exactly this stone symbolizes is left unclear, but the shared motif is undeniable. There's also the matter of spirits. During her boss fight, Renala summons spectral allies to aid her. The Godskins too seem to echo this ability, summoning one another during the infamous Godskin duo battle, and even appearing in spectral form within the Spirit Caller's cave. And if that weren't enough, there's yet another link. As I've explored in a previous lore video, drawing on Egyptian mythology and the concept of eyes being passed down, the gloam-eyed queen maintains a strange connection to the abductor virgins. And where do we encounter these creatures most frequently? Raya Lucaria and Volcano Manor. Once again, the very domains tied to Renala and her family. When it comes to the Glomide Queen and her connection to crumbling Farum Azula, the most obvious link is right in front of us, the presence of the Godskins. Whether they're here to guard something or to strike at Malekith himself remains a matter of speculation, but their attire tells a deeper story. The Godskins wear robes decorated with curious symbols. One in particular bears a striking resemblance to the icon of the frenzied flame. I believe these are not random designs, but solar symbols. And while that might sound like a stretch, it begins to make sense when we notice that their clothing also carries lunar motifs. The Glomide Queen, then, can be seen as the mediator, the bridge, between these two opposing forces, sun and moon. Even the color scheme reinforces this. Red, the color of the ancient dragons. Blue, the color of the Carian royal family. Merge them, and you get purple. The ties run even deeper. Consider that the frenzied flame ending can only be undone in Farum Azula, specifically in Placidusax's arena, with Miquella's needle, or the fact that Malekith himself resides here, carrying the rune of death, the very rune once belonging to the Glomide Queen. Even the Godslayer's great sword is shaped like a swirling tornado, echoing the very storms of Azula. So the Glomide Queen may not form a direct connection, but she seems to serve as a symbolic link between the Carian moon and the Azulan sun. And here's where my theory takes a turn. Take this with caution. It's pure interpretation, and sometimes we see the patterns we want to see. But I think these mysteries can be understood through the lens of Egyptian mythology. The Eye of Horus and the Eye of Ra. The moon's eye and the sun's eye. The moon's eye could well be that of the Glomide Queen, perhaps sealed within Melina, or passed down to her in some hidden way. The sun's eye, on the other hand, would be Placidusax himself. Look at him in his arena. Rotate his form, and what you see begins to resemble a massive eye. What connections do you see between the Carian family, Farum Azula, and the Glomide Queen? Write it in the comments, leave a like, and subscribe for more lore analyses. See you in the next video.